From George W. Bush having a cameo on the show, to the actor behind Littlefinger predicting several deaths well in advance, here are some hidden secrets about Game of Thrones.
In the sight of gods and men, we gather to ascertain the guilt or innocence of this man, Tyrion Lannister.
Like, did you know this tiny little secret about the opening scene in the map? So apparently the map of Westeros from Game of Thrones is not just a random fantasy map. It's actually based on the real-life geography of Ireland and Britain. Yes, you heard that right, my friend. When you look closely, you'll see that Westeros is basically just Britain sitting on top of an inverted map of Ireland. And that's not all. Have you ever stopped to really appreciate the opening sequence of Game of Thrones? I mean, it's definitely one of the most iconic intros in TV history. And it never fails to give me chills. But have you ever noticed the little details in it? Believe it or not, each opening sequence actually contains a sneaky secret. The locations where that episode will take place. I mean, how cool is that? It's like a little Easter egg for fans to look out for every week. And get this, apparently every single episode's map must have King's Landing, Winterfell, the Wall, and wherever Daenerys is at the moment, even if she doesn't actually show up in that particular episode. And that isn't the only Game of Thrones secret that you were missing out on. Did you know that Gandalf's sword is on the Iron Throne? In Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne is infamous for being made up of hundreds of swords.
The Iron Throne, made from 1,000 thrones of Aegon's enemies, and then he said, I counted them once, and really there's only 137, and truth and legend disagree, print legend. And it's an interesting speech that's true in the show.
But did you know that one of those swords is actually from Lord of the Rings? Yep, it's true. The sword in question is none other than Glamdring, which was used by Gandalf in the LOTR movies. It's a pretty cool Easter egg for fans of both franchises. And if you keep your eyes peeled while watching the show, you might be able to spot Glamdring on the throne. But as shocking as this fact might be, wait till you hear the next one. Littlefinger actually referenced and predicted all the major deaths in Season 4 in just one sentence. Everyone knows Littlefinger is one of the shadiest characters on the show, but he also does a pretty good job at being a fortune teller. I'm not even kidding. When he was trying to comfort Robert Arryn after his mom bit the dust, or rather the moon door, Littlefinger said something pretty ominous. People die at their dinner tables. They die in their beds. They die squatting over their chamber pots. Everyone dies sooner or later.
People die at their dinner tables. They die in their beds. They die squatting over their chamber pots. Everybody dies sooner or later.
Now, here's the really freaky part. Littlefinger basically predicted the deaths of a bunch of major characters in just one sentence. King Joffrey, Shae, and Tywin Lannister all ended up kicking the bucket in some pretty memorable ways, exactly as Littlefinger described. It's almost like he had some kind of crystal ball or something. Either that, or he's just really good at reading people. Other than Littlefinger's predictions, another secret is the cameos in the show. Did you know that one of them was George Bush? Apparently, in one of the beheading scenes from the first season, one of the severed heads on display was actually a replica of the former president's face. The showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Wise tried to play it off like it was no big deal, saying they just used whatever head was lying around. But come on, guys, it's hard to believe that it was just a coincidence. Maybe they were trying to make a political statement, or maybe they just really don't like George W. Bush. Either way, it's a pretty wild and unexpected twist. But Bush isn't the only one who had a secret cameo on the show. Coldplay and Snow Patrol did too. Remember the Red Wedding? Of course you do. It was one of the most haunting and shocking plot twists on the show. But get this, turns out Coldplay's very own Will Champion was actually there. No, seriously. He played drums during that haunting rendition of The Rains of Castamere. I bet he had to take a break from playing music for a while after that. And that's not the only musician who made an appearance on the show. Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol also had a little cameo back in Season 3. You know that guy who sang that catchy tune? Yeah, that was him. It's crazy to think that these rock stars were also hanging out in the Seven Kingdoms, rocking out and singing about dragons and wars. However, it's why Game of Thrones is such an awesome show. But as great as it is, everyone makes a mistake or two sometimes. So let's talk about the time Littlefinger's actor left his watch on during a scene. Okay, we've all heard about the major oopsie in Game of Thrones involving a Starbucks cup left on set during a a scene with Daenerys Targaryen. Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. Fans were quick to point out the mistake, and it went viral in no time.
Not going to spoil it for you. We have no spoilers here, people. But we're going to take a look at this scene from last night's episode that's raising eyebrows this morning. You guys notice anything odd in the scene? You take a closer look. You see down there on the right? Yeah. It's a coffee cup.
I mean, who knew they had Starbucks in Westeros? But get this, that's not the only time the show slipped up and let modern life seep into the Seven Kingdoms. During filming, Aidan Gillen, who plays the sneaky Littlefinger, accidentally left his watch on, and it was visible under his robe in several scenes. Some trolls online even made jokes about Littlefinger being on time for his next plotting session. Aside from Littlefinger, some of the most hated characters on the show are the Lannisters.
I am the king! I will punish you.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king. I'll make sure you understand that when I've won your war for you.
And even they have their problems with each other. But not everyone knows that the feisty rivalry between Tyrion and Cersei Lannister is actually all an act. In real life, Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey are actually BFFs. These two animal-loving actors go way back and have worked together on other projects before landing their roles on GOT. Apparently, Peter even suggested Lena for the role of Cersei and helped her get on the show. And get this, they're so tight that they even shared an apartment together when filming allowed it. Can you imagine what it would be like to live with those two? Probably lots of wine and witty banter. But hey, I guess it's good that they can keep their personal and professional lives separate. We wouldn't want to ruin the epic storyline with too much sibling love and harmony, now would we? Now, I mentioned that the actors behind Tyrion and Cersei are major animal lovers. Well, Peter Dinklage is so dedicated that he refuses to eat any of the meat on set. But wait, we've all seen Tyrion eating meat on the show. The truth is, in the scenes where he's eating meat, they're actually made with soy products. But Dinklage isn't the only vegan on the cast. Lena Headey speaks out against the mistreatment of circus animals. And even little Lyanna Mormont, played by Bella Ramsey, is a vegan and environmentalist. Now, one of the most interesting places in Westeros is the Wall, which separates the people of Westeros from the wildlings. So let's talk about what inspired its fall. The special effects wizards behind Game of Thrones are masters of their craft, and they didn't cut any corners when it came to bringing down the wall. In fact, they used footage of the 9/11 attacks to figure out how to make it look as realistic as possible. It makes sense, right? The Wall is one of the biggest structures in the world, and it had to come down in a big way. The team had to think about how the ocean would wear away at the base over time, and how the ice would break apart when it finally gave way. These details might seem small, but they're what made the scene so epic and unforgettable. And that's all for Hidden Secrets in Game of Thrones. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.